Let's talk to Perry. G'day. What's going on? Hello, Perry.
Hello.
Hey, how are you?
Okay. I phoned in about this fake democracy where you compel people to vote, and in a more sinister manner than that, which is totally undemocratic, but the linkage of electoral reimbursement to the two large sort of anchor parties that are both almost mirror reflections of each other. They're depending on your viewpoint, they're socialists getting on towards communists sometimes. This total control of everybody and arbitrary government can only weaken the country. And probably the best example, that no one wants to talk it anymore, is the confiscation of the guns here. In the end, if law and order breaks down totally...
Sorry, mate, stop for a sec. The what did you just say then?
The electoral reimbursement.
Yeah, I'm on to that. Yeah, what was the next bit?
What's going to happen is you're going to get a total fragmentation. You've got a lot of very well-educated, non-European background people flooding into the country. They're hard-working. They've got big families, children who work for nothing, and it's having massive impact. It's not going to take them long to realise the politics is almost a golden spoon thrust into the mouth. And as this happens, you'll find that, and it's happening last election, you've only got to check the figures, the parties will fragment, and we could end up with total political chaos. And of course,
look, Kay, all right,
with chaos comes illegality.
Can I? Thanks. I don't so much mind the fragmentation going on. I don't mind the growth of independents and independent parties and smaller groups, and because I look at it, and it probably won't shock many people that I sort of sit on the conservative side of things, but I find it very hard to look at, say, the Liberal Party as it is today and think that it has a solution. It has a closer solution to what I think is a solution, but it doesn't have the solution. So what will happen as a result of it is you'll have a fragmentation around the fringes, which actually are not the fringes. It's just what the parties think are the fringes. And you'll have a birth of things. You'll have, a One Nation, or you'll have the libertarian parties, or you'll have all these things that will start to break away. And what I, Perry, believe is going on in, say, somewhere like Queensland, is that, say, the One Nation party, everyone sort of thinks, One Nation's just taken the right-wingers from the Liberal Party. But in fact, One Nation believes that it's grabbing people from Labor and the Nationals and the Liberal Party, and it's not necessarily about just straight-out ideology. It's to do with anger at what's going on in the mainstream political parties. And you're right when you say that we've kind of got this system that's cooked up to guarantee the Labor and Liberal and National parties a whole truckload of money after every election, because when you make people vote, and that's the truth, you get made to vote, even if you don't want to. Even if there's no one there you want to vote for, you've got to show up and get ticked off. And then the votes that are there, the parties receive money for every vote they get as some kind of compensation for going out and chasing it. You do actually set yourself up here for the dominance of two pretty mediocre organisations. And that's why most people, when they look at what's going on, and they may have voted for the same mob for 20 years, look at that mob they've been voting for 20 years and go, that's not actually who I really am. I'm just a habit voter now.
Well, I tried to alter things, and it's over 30 years ago, I set up a party called the Confederate Action Party of Australia.
Right.
The slogan was Stand Up for Australia, One Flag, One Nation. That was when they were bringing in the Aboriginal flag to divide the country.
Yeah.
And we built a membership.
Why'd you pick Confederate of all the things? Why Confederate?
Well, because ultimately, if we don't stand up, we're going to get flooded. Back then, there was still a very strong separate. I've lived in the United States, and I'm from Africa, although I'm English, born in Ireland, but raised in Kenya and Tanganyika.
Jeez.
It used to be, British dependencies.
Yes.
And in the end, if we don't have some sort of a civilized Southern alliance, we're just going to get picked off, as is happening here now. We're the last of that trio. I don't know what will happen in America. That's up in the air.
Right. I feel like you're broadcasting code here, because I'm only understanding, and maybe it's because I'm dull, but I'm only understanding about 1 in 3 things you're saying. I actually think you started off in a real smart zone, but I think we've got into the weirdo area. I'm not saying you're weird. I'm just saying that the discussion's got weird. But the point you make, I agree at the beginning totally with. Don't make people vote. And I wouldn't make political parties make their money by how many votes they get. I actually much prefer a system that said, if you support something, you support it. Otherwise, you just vote for it. I don't think we should be rewarding them with pay, even people. I mean, that's why, if you live in, say, a safe Labor seat, the Liberal Party runs some drongo that's never going to get any votes, but they only run it because, if you're in it, you can collect the dough. And that's why they do it. And they use it as a fundraising mechanism. And the same, I grew up and still live in a very, very safe Liberal seat. And the bunnies that the Labor Party has run in that seat, we're talking people, there was a fella a few years ago that he couldn't even speak English right. They'd come to a conclusion that his face on posters might attract some votes from people that look like they're from where he's from. It was one of real cynical things. And, he got 2,000 votes or something like that. And I thought, why would you bother? And the amount of cost involved in it, but it was just an exercise in real estate for them so they would be able to gather money. And the Labor and Liberal parties and the Nationals have been doing this for eons, running in no-win competitions just so they can get a bit of cash in. And I guess if they're doing it, everyone else will do it too. Thanks for the call, mate. I'm sorry we ended the way we did, but nonetheless, he's the leader of the Confederate Party. I didn't know we had one.